Max just wanted to scrape off some chewing gum.
He's trying to light his shoe. It's a shoe bomb. Get him!
It's gum.
He's got a gun!
Not gum. No.
Max was quickly overpowered and tied up. But he still had a mission to complete. As they approached the drop zone, Max made up an excuse to use the restroom. Once inside, he opened a secret compartment. He took off his shoe, pulled out some gadgets, and assembled them into a universal crossbow. Just one shot would snap his restraints. The result: Max ended up with arrows stuck in his ears, his face, and even his butt. He screamed in agony.
Yeah. Yes, I am.
After an unknown number of shots, Max finally hit the release mechanism and ejected from the plane. The flight attendant got the word and cleared out the restroom. When Anna entered, she realized something was terribly wrong. The two parachutes were both still there. All the golden retrievers quickly flopped into the mud, blending in perfectly with the piglets. One dognapper refused to give up and reached in, only to pull out an actual piglet. Not only did he miss the dogs, but he ended up with a literal face full of pig manure. The puppy seized the chance to dash into the barn. One furious dognapper chased them in, only to step right into a trap set by the clever goat. Later, the goat told the pups to hide in a haystack. One dognapper caught a glimpse of a tail sticking out and thought the pups were cornered for good. But out of nowhere, the goat reappeared and sent the thugs crashing to the ground once again. Still determined, the dognappers eventually managed to trap the puppies in an empty room. Just as they were gloating over their victory, they realized the pups had already escaped through a tiny hole. Before the villains could react, the goat smartly locked them inside the room. One of the thugs, red with rage, poked his head out of the escape hole to scream at them. Result: after thanking the brave goat, the little golden retrievers set off on their long journey to find their parents. Bean was showing off his great new job, but while swatting at a bee, he accidentally knocked his employer's expensive statue to the ground. Terrified, he rushed to get some glue to fix it. To make the glue dry faster, he used a hairdryer. However, the wind was so strong that it blew the statue's head right off. A second later, a dog running by caught it in its mouth. Bean chased after the dog and had a tug-of-war, finally managing to win back the statue's head. Just as he was celebrating, the dog chased the bee into the study. Inside that room sat an antique manuscript worth millions. Bean watched in despair as the study door slammed shut. Staring at the digital lock, he suddenly remembered that his employer had given him an instruction manual, but he had accidentally left the manual on the gas stove, and it was now on fire. Bean screamed in panic and rushed to save it. But in this high-tech house, he didn't even know how to work the faucet. Meanwhile, in the study, the dog was tearing things apart while chasing the bee, smashing antiques one by one onto the floor. By the time Bean finally put out the fire, the manual was unrecognizable. He immediately grabbed a hammer to smash the glass, but the result was disastrous. Bean had destroyed yet another antique. Desperate, the man carefully picked the cucumbers out of his sandwich because he was highly allergic to them. However, just as he finished cleaning his meal, he was called away by a phone call. Officer Vilba accidentally knocked the sandwich onto the floor when she entered the room. To cover up her mistake, she planned to buy a replacement, but the shop was out of the same kind. At that moment, she noticed someone else's sandwich sitting on a nearby table and decided to borrow it. This left the man who'd lost his sandwich utterly perplexed. She then placed that sandwich which contained cucumber back in the original spot. When Edward returned and took a large, unsuspecting bite, he immediately sensed something was wrong. Despite his frantic rinsing, the allergic reaction arrived right on schedule, leaving his face covered in dense, red hives. Edward initially wanted to borrow some foundation from a female colleague to cover it up, but she suggested he take some allergy medication instead. Vilba happened to witness this and realized that Edward's allergy was caused by the sandwich. Feeling incredibly guilty, Vilba decided to mix an ancestral remedy as a special medicine for him. The concoction contained sour cream, aloe vera, herbs, and, of course, skin-soothing cucumbers. Meanwhile, Edward had fallen into a deep sleep on the office sofa after the girl accidentally walked into an assassin interview. She originally wanted to slip away, but the company offered incredible benefits, full insurance coverage and a $600,000 annual salary. Kana agreed instantly. However, the entrance exam required her to snipe someone right now. Kana was terrified. To her, killing someone was harder than climbing to heaven, but this trial allowed the president to see Kana's talent. He immediately wanted to hold a welcome party for her. The frightened Kana wanted to refuse, but the next second, the next day, Kana still wanted to resign because she didn't want to do the work of a killer. But just as she was about to speak, the president actually praised her, calling her a genius. Kana was stunned. This was the first time she had been praised by a leader since she started working. Then the leader asked her where she had learned her concealment skills.
消せてます。人に怒られるのが怖くて目立たないように生きてたんです。いやー、本当に役に立ったか。 向いてますかね私。
Consequently, Kana happily decided to stay for a while. The company organized a vacation, but the boss died. To keep the holiday from being ruined, Parker and Wilson decided to make the boss look like he was still alive. They tied their shoelaces to the boss's shoelaces and prepared to catch the ferry back. However, the killer, who was about to leave, was stunned. He clearly remembered killing the boss, yet the man was somehow alive again. To finish the job, he decided to go back and kill him one more time. Meanwhile, the two men missed the ferry and found the boss's yacht to try and leave. But since neither of them knew how to steer a yacht, they accidentally bounced the boss into the water. They had no idea the boss was currently extreme surfing. Nearby tourists cheered for the boss, thinking he was a surfing pro. The loud cheering led Jack and Mike to think the tourists were waving at them, until the boss's body hit a metal pole with a loud clank. And they realized something was wrong. After they dragged the boss back onto the boat, the yacht ran out of gas. The two had to drive the boss's body back the way they came. As soon as they returned to the villa, the killer showed up. Seeing the boss right in front of him, he fired several shots without a word. The two were terrified and quickly explained they hadn't seen anything. But the killer was no fool and immediately pointed a gun at them, only to find he was out of bullets. Thinking they were saved, the two tried to rush forward to catch the killer. To their surprise, the killer had another gun. The two ran away as fast as they could. In the chaos, the boss's body got stuck in the staircase. The boy wrote a letter to Santa Claus but misspelled one word. Instead of going to the North Pole, the letter went straight to hell and landed in the hands of Satan. On Christmas Eve, Satan suddenly dropped into the boy's room. The boy was terrified, but Satan was very excited and thanked the boy for writing to him. The boy was confused, as he didn't recognize him at all. At this point, Satan realized something was wrong. He grabbed the letter and read it carefully.
You wouldn't happen to have trouble spelling, would you?
Yes.
Satan suddenly had a brilliant idea. He transformed into the image of Santa Claus and told the boy he could make 3 wishes. He knew that as long as he fulfilled 3 wishes, he could take the boy's soul. However, the child thought for a long time, making Satan impatient. "Brother, hurry up," Satan said, "or I'll just take you straight to hell right now." So, the boy made his first wish, to make his classmate Emma dump her boyfriend and start noticing him. Satan laughed and granted the wish immediately, but the boy asked suspiciously how he could trust him. Hearing this, "What's it like getting peed on while driving?" Tom wanted to show off his newly bought car. He turned on the cruise control, but the system suddenly malfunctioned. No matter how much he tapped the screen or stepped on the brakes, he could not slow down. Tom could only weave through the highway in a panic. At this point, his father told him to step on the gas first and then hit the brakes. Tom did as he was told, but the car sped up instead. Tom called the car salesman, but the salesman was busy scamming other customers and hung up the phone. Seeing that he was about to hit a big truck, Tom immediately steered into a side road. A man had just opened his car door. Tom was also extremely panicked when he saw this, but he could not stop. The man was heartbroken to see his beloved car damaged. He tried to put the door back in place, but it fell off completely. The man was furious. He threw the door into the back seat and chased after Tom, vowing to get revenge for his car door. At this time, Tom's hand cramped up. His father took over the driving. Suddenly, a bee flew into the car. Grandpa was terrified of bees. This caused the vehicle to swerve out of control. The bee landed on the dashboard. Tom swatted at it with a newspaper. The bee flew out the window and headed straight for the man's ear. Max woke up every day and checked if his wife was still breathing. When he saw she was, he could only sigh in disappointment. Max had been living off his rich wife for 25 years, waiting for the day she would pass away so he could get her inheritance. But she was way too healthy, so he could only suffer through his life of luxury. He had just finished a massage and lay down to rest when his wrinkled wife walked toward him excitedly. It turned out it was their wedding anniversary. Max wasn't prepared at all, so he lied about having a surprise and took her to a car dealership. In the end, he bought himself a sports car, and she happily paid for it without a single complaint. Max went out for a joyride, but when he came home, he found another identical sports car parked at the door. As soon as he walked in, he saw his wife lying on the couch. Max was about to act concerned.
A nice refreshing beverage after the workout we just... Hey, you're back.
While Max was picking his car, she had also hit it off with a handsome salesman. Max was furious. He demanded a divorce and insisted on taking half her money, but she only laughed. She said she might be old, but she wasn't stupid. They had signed a prenup. And just like that, Max was kicked out of the mansion. With nowhere to go, a beautiful contestant was performing in a talent show on stage. In the audience, a psychopathic killer was murdering her boyfriend. Buffy was terrified and quickly pleaded for help from the crowd, but everyone thought she was acting. They even praised her performance. She watched helplessly as the killer stabbed her boyfriend with a knife. Yet, the audience was still absorbed in watching her performance, until her boyfriend was killed. Everyone stood up and cheered, completely awed by her acting. The host immediately announced, "The champion is Buffy." Buffy rushed backstage, frantically looking for help. But upon hearing she had won the championship, her expression changed instantly. Her friend came to tell her that something terrible had happened, but she no longer cared about that.
Out of my way, loser!
Buffy basked in the flowers and applause. Some people were so excited that they accidentally